Today, I will introduce you to 5 individuals who survived what everyone else would call impossible. Falls from over 6 miles high, car accidents, plane crashes, and adventures you probably couldn't even imagine.
Number 5. Aron Ralston.
Aron Ralston, an American adventurer, mountaineer, and motivational speaker, set out on one of his many trips through canyons one day in 2003. While descending one of them, a boulder dislodged and he fell down to the bottom of the canyon with the rock crushing his right forearm against the canyon wall.
He was trapped and unable to move. The problem was that he hadn't told anyone where he was going.
With only 12 fluid ounces of water in a plastic bottle, he survived for the first 3 days, but then had to resort to drinking his own urine.
Dehydration, lack of sleep, and overall exhaustion led to hallucinations.
On the 4th day, he recorded a final farewell on his camera and carved his name and the date of his death, April 2003, into the canyon wall. However, he was still alive on the 5th day and managed to find a way to break his own forearm and amputate his arm with a dull pocket knife. After a few hours, he succeeded and set out to find help. After walking 8 miles under the hot sun, he stumbled upon a Dutch family who called for help.
A helicopter arrived shortly thereafter, and Aron knew he would live.
He continues to travel and embark on adventurous expeditions, but he learned a valuable lesson from this experience: always let his loved ones know where and when he is traveling. This story may sound familiar to you as it was adapted into a successful film titled 127 Hours starring James Franco, based on his autobiographical book Between a Rock and a Hard Place.
Number 4. Truman Duncan.
This American man survived something that nobody would want to experience, and with injuries that would make it difficult to continue living. Truman Duncan worked at a sorting yard in the Texas town of Cleburne, but one day his routine activity turned into horror.
He was waiting on one railcar track and was supposed to couple another one as he did every day.
However, at one point, his foot slipped and Truman found himself between 2 railcars, unable to escape. The approaching railcar began to roll over him, literally splitting him in half. In a state of shock, he barely felt the pain and even managed to dial 911, where the dispatcher couldn't believe that someone was calling to report that they had been cut in half by a train. He then called his wife at home to tell her about the accident and that he might lose a leg. In less than an hour, he was already undergoing surgery at the nearest hospital, where he was airlifted. He woke up from an induced coma about a month later and, as he says himself, he knew that something terrible had happened, but he didn't want to remember it. He found out that he had lost part of his right leg, his entire left leg including the left side of his pelvis and kidney. Within 4 months, he underwent 23 surgeries. He could no longer do his job on a wheelchair, but the railroad company hired him in the same office at the same yard. It was only 2 years after his accident that he gave his first interview, and the media began to take an interest in him, to whom he often said,
"Life is great, even though you think you can't live with this injury. You can. Life goes on. In my case, it's already moving forward."
Number 3. Vesna Vulovic.
At the age of 22 in 1972, this flight attendant from Yugoslav Airlines found herself on an international flight from Copenhagen to Belgrade. Due to the tense political situation at the time, the Croatian anti-Serb group Ustaša placed a bomb on board the plane, specifically in the luggage compartment. The bomb exploded over the town of Srpska Kamenice in what was then Czechoslovakia, causing the plane to crash from an altitude of over 6.2 miles directly into the mountainous area.
228 passengers, including the crew, were killed instantly, and only Vesna survived.
Her achievement was recognized by the Guinness Book of Records as the highest fall survived without a parachute, which she still holds to this day. She suffered multiple internal and external injuries, including a skull fracture, both legs and arm broken, 3 broken vertebrae, which left her paralyzed from the waist down. Thanks to the precise care of Czechoslovak doctors, she regained feeling in her legs and began walking again. She was then forced to change her position in Yugoslav Airlines, became a national hero, and later became involved in political resistance during the situation at that time.
Number 2. Roy Sullivan.
The chance of being struck by lightning during an 80-year lifespan is 1 in 10,000. The chance of being struck by lightning 7 times in one's lifetime is 1 in 10 octillion, and this former forest ranger, Roy, managed to achieve it. He even claimed to have been struck by lightning once before, as a child in a field, but since it cannot be proven, he is credited with 7 lightning strikes, all of which are documented.
And that he survived them all without serious consequences? That is truly lucky.
In 1942, during a thunderstorm, Roy took refuge in a fire lookout tower, which was hit by lightning. In a panic, he ran outside, where he was immediately struck again. The lightning burned through his shoe and ripped off his toenail on his right foot. In 1969, another lightning strike hit him while he was in a moving car. Normally, this is safe during a storm, as the car acts as a Faraday cage, but this lightning bolt bounced off a tree and flew into the open window. Roy's eyelashes were burned, and he was knocked unconscious. In 1970, he was struck in the back while in his yard, which resulted in burns. In 1972, his hair caught fire after being struck by lightning, and he put it out with a towel. That's when he started to believe that it wasn't a coincidence and that lightning was following him. He became afraid of thunderstorms and carried water with him to put out any potential fires. The water came in handy a year later when lightning struck him again, this time burning his hat and singeing his hair. In 1976, he injured his ankle after being struck, and the following year, he was struck in the head while fishing, causing back pain. Ironically, despite his incredible resilience, he ended his life voluntarily due to an unhappy love affair.
Number 1. Frane Selak.
Frane Selaković, a Croatian music teacher, is known for escaping death at least 7 times. He is nicknamed the world's unluckiest lucky man. At the age of 33, he was traveling by train when it derailed and plunged into a river, killing 17 passengers and injuring many more. Frane miraculously survived with only a broken arm. The following year, he was on a domestic flight across Croatia, which turned out to be his first and last flight. During the flight, the plane's door suddenly ripped off and Frane was sucked out. However, he landed on a haystack and was unharmed, while the plane crashed and killed 19 people. 3 years later, Frane was on a bus that crashed into a river, killing 4 people, but he managed to survive. At the age of 41, he was driving his car when it suddenly caught fire from the fuel tank and exploded, but Frane managed to escape in time.
The same accident happened again 3 years later when he was 64.
To add to his luck, in 2003, he won the lottery and became a millionaire.
Isn't that unbelievable? Don't forget to subscribe and give a like. See you next time.